board outside of their low performing and continually low performing. Their enrollment is 230. They currently serve kindergarten through 8, and they have a consistent board and staff. They did go through a name change during this process, but because we're using official documents, had to stick with Carter Community. Their new school name is Change Community School of Digital and Visual Arts. Charlotte Secondary is located in Charlotte, North Carolina, opened in 2007 with an independent board, no major issues other than low performing and continually low performing. Their enrollment is at 182. They currently serve 6 through 12. And they have made some board changes, but not an alarming change, just more of a turnover time for them. Dillard Academy is located in Goldsboro, North Carolina. They opened in 1998 with an independent board, no major compliance issues other than the school is low performing and continually low performing with an enrollment of 249. They currently serve kindergarten through 8th grade. They have a consistent board and staff, and I have to say, even through the pandemic, working with a lot of these schools, it is very clear that they're putting in a lot of effort to increase or improve their student outcomes. The school has undergone major transition under new school leadership. They have new teaching staff, fully certified, and low turnover rates where they once had very high turnover rates, along with building improvements and the community's faith restored. Discovery Charter School, this is a special situation because they had a 2-year delay, which means they don't even have a data sheet at all for me to present to you. However, they're an independent board. They just moved into their new school building. They're doing well in all other areas. There weren't any governance compliance issues to address or anything like that. They're in the 3-year category for discussion just because we don't have any numbers to present to you. So keeping all that in mind, they were on their first 5-year charter. Holloway-Saponi Tribal School opened in 2000 in Hollister, North Carolina. So it's an independent board. Their compliance issues are low performing and continually low performing. Also, testing reported that they requested to do the BGO3 outside of the testing window. And we have that document. Their enrollment is 154. They currently serve kindergarten through 12, and they have a consistent board and staff. They have improved financially over the last 3 years, but Business Financial Services is here for those questions. Johnson Charter Academy is yet another school that does not have, they did not have at least 2 years of data, and it takes that to be placed on the guidelines. This is an NHA school. They have an enrollment of 827, strong enrollment. They're located in Clayton, North Carolina, and they had a 1-year delay, opening in 2018. Good operational and governance practices for that school. Movement Charter School is in Charlotte, North Carolina, opened in 2017 to an independent board. They only have 1 year of approved data, so once again, what to do about that. So their current enrollment is 633, and they serve grades kindergarten through 6. Roseville Charter Academy is the last school that I'll present to you that only has 1 year of data. It's an NHA school with an enrollment of 750. They're located in Roseville, and again, these schools are in good operating conditions, financial conditions, governance conditions. We just lack data. Reaching All Minds is located in Durham, North Carolina. They opened in 2014. The school has no other major issues other than their low performing and continually low performing status. Enrollment is 380, and they currently serve grades kindergarten through 8. The school has made changes to academic programs that are positive. They have new teachers. It was nice to go there and do the tour. United Community School, which you just heard from about an hour ago, They reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. And again, this is a case where, this is a C school that exceeded growth right before the pandemic. But because of the continually low performing, they had to be placed in a 3-year category. They currently have, their enrollment's gone down just a little. But, they're working hard out there. So, would you like me to stop here or continue? We have one more school to discuss under a non-renewal placement.
Keep going.
Okay. So, Uproar Leadership Academy is located in Charlotte, North Carolina. They opened 2017 to an independent board. They are low performing and continually low performing. Financial audits and findings are probably going to be discussed next. Is in their ADM. Their enrollment at the time that I checked, it was 101, but declining, and they currently serve 5 through 12. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexis, can you talk to us about the 2 schools that have financial issues?
Good morning. It's afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alexis Schaus. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at the Department of Public Instruction. I am usually up here as I was previously the Director of the Division of School Business, which has a large compliance function. I am here also to introduce our manager over that compliance area, Shirley McFadden. She is relatively new. I guess over COVID we've kind of got that time warp. So I think it's actually almost been a year. So, but she not only is responsible for charter school compliance, but also for the audit resolution process and all the fiscal compliance for the federal funds. So it is quite a large section. I also wanted to state that in the recent state budget, Financial and Business Services received 3 new positions, of which one of those positions we will dedicate to financial support to charter schools. And the compliance side of it, and will reside under Shirley's area. We also received $2.2 million of partnership contract with the North Carolina Association of School Business Officials, which we will include technical support to charter schools in that. So I did want to take this opportunity, I'm not up here very often, to state that. So. With that, we do review the financial statements of these charter schools that are up for renewal, and Shirley does a very good analysis of these areas. And I'm going to pass over to Shirley for most of these. You stated the 2 that you were interested in, which I believe is Uproar and
Johnston. Said Johnston also had financial issues, I think.
Okay, well, we will focus on Uproar, but before we do, I would like to take back to Lakeside Charter Academy, that is 61J, and bring to your attention that this school was on financial disciplinary action from fiscal year 2015 through 2016, 17, and in fact, only based on the financial statements ending in June 30th, 2020, did we downgrade or upgrade, I guess, I don't know, make better that financial noncompliance to a probationary status. As you're aware, disciplinary status is the highest level of noncompliance before closure. Charter schools are placed on a monthly allocation at that point. We felt that the 2020 audit provided enough evidence for us to show improvement. They did not have a going concern, for instance. All those other years, the school did have a going concern. However, we do continue. They are on probationary status, which does show that, in our speak, that they are still a significant concern. related to their financials. They are being bolstered up significantly by loans, as well as the Paycheck Protection Program. So they are, when you're looking at their kind of revenues and expenditures, they are still not breaking even with those. And so Shirley had notified me today that we have received their 2021 audit, but it is pretty much flat. There is not a continued improvement, so we will continue that school on their second year of probationary status with that audit.
Alexis, is that still month to month? Is probationary still month to month?
It is not. They will receive 2/3 of their allocation in this installment, and then the final third in February. So that is one. There is also...
Alexis, on
Yes,
Lakeside,
sorry.
wasn't there an issue with some kind of outstanding loan or something, and the issues around that loan? Wasn't that one of the reasons they were put on financial?
They did get a loan forgiveness for some of that, and I can pull up kind of more of the specific data on the amounts of that. We did notify them actually just in this month when we had received, based on the 2020 audit, of their probationary status, and then we will continue that. But they did get a loan forgiveness, and they also received those PPP loans. So that is definitely helping their situation. They do have, I believe, did they not have an increase in their working capital loan in 2021? So, as I said, there is improvement. There is no going concern, and there is not the amount that they are overexpending. Their current year revenues is definitely less, but they do remain a concern for us. The other item, which you had movement score 61T, that is that was recommended for a 3-year. I just also want to state that they did get their audit in on time this year. We do not have financial issues, but there was 2 years prior to that. Their audits were significantly late. And other than that, I will pass Uproar. Do you want to talk about Carter as well, Carter Community? Okay, so I just wanted to state on Carter Community that they are being recommended as well for a 3-year, and they were on probationary. They're currently on cautionary, and they are, based on their current status, they appear to be, they had kind of a little blip. It is a school that's not normally on our watch list. They had kind of a 2-year blip, and they appear to be right back on track, so we do not have continued concern. So with that, I will pass over to your very capable hands, Shirley McFadden.
Good afternoon, everyone. I probably have a little more lengthy bit of information for you on 61U, but did want to give you detail to understand what we did on Friday. So 61U was put on a financial disciplinary status on December 3rd. There were various reasons. The primary ones include a going concern, a deficit in unassigned fund balance of $111,228. The significance of that is actually includes a decrease of $241,768 from the prior year. So there was a significant decrease in their fund balance. The expenditures exceeded revenues by $369,000. Other items of note that are significant for your awareness: they had a low cash balance, about $2,000 at year end. The school borrowed funds. They had 2 very high interest rate loans. One was 25%. The second was, the auditor estimates it was probably almost 50%. They paid back $152,760 on a $114,000 loan. That was in a 32-week period. We also want to note they had 4 other loans in the past 2 years. We had 2 PPP loans. The first one was forgiven. That was in FY '20, $179,000. Last year, they took $171,000 PPP loan. They're expecting forgiveness on that one as well. But they also took out 2 EIDL loans, one in FY '21 for $150,000. That's a 30-year term on that loan. It's 2.5% interest. The other one was after the year and closed at $350,000, also an EIDL loan with the lower interest rate of 2.5%. They are also experiencing a decline in their enrollment. In FY '21, they had 130 students. In FY '22, they were down to 92 is what they reported this year. But because of held harmless, they'll obviously be funded at the prior year number of 130. I want to mention that. Of note, of their 92 students this year, 43 are high school students. 6 of them are upper class. They have 1 senior. Last year, they received state funds in the amount of $450,000, and they are eligible for ESSER funding of $740,000. They have spent their CARES Act, but that's the total amount eligible to them, just for your awareness.
Their total ESSER possibility is $740,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much of that have they spent, do you know?
I want to say it was $60,000 last year, and there was a small amount that they applied for this year. I know it was $60,000 when we looked earlier on the last year's funds.
So you went through, how many loans did you go through?
We were able to identify 6 loans in the audit report that were reported.
So do you know what the total outstanding debt is and what the current amount due in this next year is on that outstanding debt, by any chance?
We do have current liabilities of $175,000, $175,669. Those are the current liabilities. The current assets or total assets, $133,068. $2,000 of that is cash, $2269.
What's the total long-term debt?
I'd have to go to the report to get that.
This is Mr. Friend. Who is loaning them money at rates of 25 and 50%?
It did not state in the audit report. The auditor just identified that they had concerns about the high rates of interest on those on the loans that were taken out.
If we do not renew this school, because it's on the recommendation is non-renew for this school. If we do not renew this school, what happens to all this money they owe out that they don't have?
The board members are liable for that.
That's why there's a state indebtedness clause on all of our contracts.
But they haven't been including that on their clauses, so I don't know that it's been included on the loans. Hopefully it has, but I don't know.
Obviously, the loans are between the nonprofit board and the vendor, so the vendor could possibly go after the
Nonprofit board, but
Right.
because of the indebtedness clause, not against the state.
Right.
And 2 PPP loans.
2, one has already been forgiven. $171,000 was the second loan this year. They are anticipating being forgiven for that loan.
Thank you. The way this works for those of you who are new on the board, we don't actually discuss this until next month. We have the presentations this month, and then next month we'll discuss and vote on the recommendation. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I just thank Shirley for taking her time on Friday. I think it was really late, but still got it done, and I just want to thank you for your willingness to support.
And I want to second that also. And Shirley is the one that all the audits are being sent
now going
to.
to?
She's the one that's looking at them. They come in the epicenter now. Now Shirley is the one in. And Shirley, we really appreciate positive collaboration. You've been fantastic, so thank you.
So we're good with
Do we want to
renewal,
take a
right?
break, or do we want to move on to the application?
I guess we're moving on.
Move on.
Good afternoon, Melanie Rackley with the Office of Charter Schools. So just thank you to our applicants. We are running a little bit behind schedule today. Just quickly, we have our general statute, our administrative code, and our policies on the next few slides for review and are made available at request to the Office of Charter Schools. Part of today is the capacity interview, so over to the right, we'll remind our audience, CSAB, what the recommendations are. Today, you'll be prepared to make one of three recommendations: advance to SBE for approval, hold over for round 2, or advance to SBE for denial. And then if round 2 is scheduled, those options would be advanced to SBE for approval or denial. We have 5 first-round applicants today, and on our county distribution, they are all in Mecklenburg County. We have already heard from one Mecklenburg County school as part of our accelerated applicants, so we'll hear from the remaining 5 today. We have our hour at a glance. So what I'll do is I'll intro each school. The board will have 10 minutes to make their introduction opening statements. CSAB will deliberate, discuss for 25 minutes, followed by a 10-minute close, and then CSAB will deliberate for the final 10 minutes. And then you can just move past that. That's our second round parameters. Okay, and then these are the schools that we have today and tomorrow. And then we have 5 additional schools next month. So there's a glance there of what we have next month. So we will begin with the Great Opportunities and Boundless Innovation for Girls, located and slated for open in Mecklenburg County, 28217 Charlotte proper, West Charlotte. What you'll see, the school proposes to be a K-6 school at capacity. In year 1, they'll serve grades K2 with 300 students, followed by K3 with 400. Year 3, grades K through 4 with 500 students. Year 4, K5 with 6. And then again, at capacity, year 5, K6, 700 students. Great Opportunities and Boundless Innovation for Girls, Go Big for short, does propose to provide food service. They will participate in both the school breakfast program and the National School Lunch Program. Go Big will also utilize, and they'll purchase buses. They will also coordinate public transportation for their families, organize carpools, and then special needs transportation as needed. Go Big will utilize the weighted lottery for enrollments. They do not have a facility, although they are proposed for open in zip code 28217. There has not been an LEA impact provided. They are a repeat applicant. We did hear from Go Big on our previous 2020 cycle. They are not utilizing an EMO or a CMO. However, they had an application assistant by consultancy. It looks like Charter Success Partners did assist with their application. Application was deemed complete by the Office of Charter Schools. We do have a map on our next slide. You'll see a heat map there with looks like about 24 schools within that 28217 area code. Of note, we've got a few charter schools within this 5-mile radius here. Still Creek, it looks like Unity Classical, and then Metrolina Regional Global Scholars are all within this 6-mile radius. I will begin, and I will allow the board of Go Big to come up and then make their 10-minute opening statement.
Okay, I want to remind you that I am recused and Mr. Friend will be conducting the interview.
Thank you.
Greetings, CSAB members. We would like to thank you again for this opportunity to come before you to discuss the vision for Great Opportunities and Boundless Innovations for Girls, otherwise known as Go Big. We would like to begin with a brief overview of our board. My name is Crystal Pemberton Howe. I am the board vice chair, and I reside near Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm currently a doctoral candidate in educational leadership at North Central University and a full-time educator at a North Carolina charter school. I'm also a graduate of an all-girls school and an alum of Yale University. Our board treasurer, Shantae Cloud, resides in Charlotte, North Carolina, where she is a real estate agent and accountant. She brings to the board over 15 years' experience in finance. Our board secretary, Ladidra Matthews, is a defense attorney in Charlotte, North Carolina. She has also served as a college advisor in 2 Durham high schools and currently counsels higher education institutions in the drafting, revision, and application of Title IX policies and procedures. She unfortunately could not be here with us today due to a previously scheduled professional obligation. Board member Erin Howe resides near Charlotte, North Carolina. As a mechanical and electrical engineer, she brings her professional expertise in STEM. She is also a veteran of the United States Army, a foster parent, an educator, operations coordinator, and an advocate for children with disabilities in the state of North Carolina. Joining virtually, we have Dr. Jeff Rhodes. He is a former regional superintendent in the state of Pennsylvania with over 30 years' experience in pre-K through 12 education. He brings a wealth of expertise and experience in educational leadership and system-based improvement. He is also a distinguished professor at a university in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Diamond Howell Shields is a professor and a doctoral candidate at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, with a concentration in multicultural education. She is also a graduate of an all-girls school. She unfortunately could not be here with us today due to medical reasons. Ms. Jerry Taylor is a retired superintendent for the City of New York. She has served as a teacher, guidance counselor, principal, and superintendent. She is also the education chairperson of a New York City community board. As a caregiver for her 7 granddaughters, she unfortunately could not be here with us today. She, her husband, and her grandchildren have all tested positive for COVID. We wish them a swift and complete recovery. Our board president, Sherelle Howard, resides in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is the chief executive officer of the Stetris Group, a business that creates relationships between the STEM industry and education. She is also a doctoral candidate at North Central University. She holds a BS in architectural engineering, an MBA, a master in education, and has over 20 years experience designing and managing multi-million-dollar design build projects domestically and abroad. She has helped to establish several distinguished academies of engineering and opened the first magnet early college high school in CMS, Charlotte Engineering Early College. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Sherelle Howard, and I am the board chair for Great Opportunities and Boundless Innovations for Girls, affectionately known as Go Big. We are hopeful that our presentation today will provide you the confidence to know that this group of passionate professionals are committed to providing an immersive STEM education for young ladies, and that we are wholeheartedly committed to doing whatever is necessary to serve our scholars. We are committed to this vision because we believe that one day all children will have access to opportunities in education. Go Big will provide an alternative to the schools in the greater Charlotte area. According to research by RTI in 2019, underrepresented populations at STEM schools enrolled in and performed better in advanced math and science courses than those in non-STEM schools. As such, it is important to provide STEM education that not only offers STEM courses, but provides an immersive environment, creating contextualization across curriculum and experience. Research has shown that all students, traditional, EC, EL students with disabilities, perform better and have greater academic achievement in schools and courses that provide immersive learning experience. Research also shows that all girls' schools increase girls' motivation, self-concept, and achievement in STEM. As such, Go Big welcomes all female scholars because we believe all students have the right to a fair and quality education. Go Big is a one-of-a-kind educational experience for young female scholars. It is our desire to encourage scholars to dream big and to teach them how to achieve big. At our school, we will focus on academic achievement, entrepreneurship, social responsibility, and character development. We will emphasize academic achievement by utilizing high-quality, contextualized, top-rated curricula focused in STEM. The Project Lead the Way program will be at the center focus of the robust engineering and technology course that students will participate in daily. It will use the Teach Like a Champion instructional model. Our core curriculums include Eureka Math, Amplify Reading, CKLA, and Amplify Science. Teachers will be trained extensively on implementation, as well as work collaboratively to create cross-curricular relevance for students. We will emphasize entrepreneurship by working with scholars daily, beginning in kindergarten, to develop skills in design thinking, creativity, problem solving, communication, and collaboration. The instructional staff will utilize the Entry Ed entrepreneurship standards to create culminating projects and learning experience with the development of an outline, proposal, and pitch to our industry partners of their very own startup company, complete with a prototype. We will emphasize social responsibility by partnering with Junior Achievement and using the responsive classroom practices and principles to guide student social and emotional development. We will incorporate lessons related to global awareness and organize community service projects for our Go Big community. We will emphasize character development by utilizing the Youth Leader in Me program and the Go Big Bounce program. Leader in Me will build leadership and life skills in students, create a high-trust school culture, and will lay the foundation for sustained academic achievement. We will purposefully engage with students daily, creating meaningful relationships with students during the daily Go Big Bounce program, incorporating Kagan's cooperative learning strategies in all interactions. Go Big will work with the community, parents, and professionals to embolden and enhance the student experience through a multitude of opportunities. The benefit of Go Big is not just for the female scholars, but also for everyone involved in Go Big and in the community in which Go Big resides. We will serve our families by providing social services through partnering with state and local agencies and working with local nonprofits. We will serve our community by giving back and involving ourselves in the restorative work of the community. And we will serve our staff by providing a unique ecosystem of opportunities, support, recognition, and values to support their professional and personal growth. We believe wholeheartedly that the scholars that attend Go Big will be equipped with all the skills needed to succeed, energized to be an agent of change, and empowered to change the world. Thank you.
We welcome your questions.
Okay, Ashley, this is Bruce. Is it time for us to go ahead and facilitate the interview?
I didn't hear you, Bruce. Can you say that again?
I said, are we ready to go ahead and facilitate the interview?
You are. You have 25 minutes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all for the introduction. This is Bruce Friend, the Vice Chair of CSAB. I do apologize that I'm not there in person today, but do look forward to having a chance to ask questions and learn more about your proposal, as I know my other CSAB members are as well. I wanted to start with just going around the table, so to speak, and get out some of the questions that CSAB members may have. So you don't have to answer these in these order, but just what are some of the questions that my fellow CSAB members have? Since I'm on the phone, I'll go ahead and start. And just things I'm curious about is we do recognize that you've been before us before, as recently as last year. So I'm interested in hearing in your own words how this application is different than what we have reviewed previously. I am interested in kind of the facilities planning that's taking place. And it sounds like you don't have a facility yet, but interested in knowing what you are looking at. I do have questions around how you know of the demand. I did see in the application some information about Facebook page data and such, but interested to hear from you about the demand for the school, particularly given that you are in an area where there are quite a few school choice options for parents that already exist. And then my last question, I apologize, will be around teacher professional development and how you're going to prepare your teachers for this type of instructional model. So those are things that are top of my mind, but I'm going to put myself on mute and let other CTED members throw out questions they might have as well, and then we can get started.
Before I ask or make my statement, cool points for the name. Go big. I mean, I just saw that creativity, but that was pretty cool. I'd like to know.
Home.
What's that?
Or go.
Oh, go home, right? Go big or go home, right? I like it. That was a great name.
Before we go.
I just thought
So
that
you
was
won't have to go.
I thought that was a great acronym. That's probably one of the best ones I've seen. All right, I'd like to know a little bit more about, because when I was reading in there, I heard a little bit about the responsive classroom approach. I'd like to know a little bit more about what does that look like?
Outstanding. Thank you so much for that question. I'm going to ask our Vice Chair, Crystal.
First, we're
gonna
go around with all our questions.
Okay.
Yeah, because Bruce's remote is probably hard to hear.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But we'll go through all our questions, and then when we're done, we'll let you guys answer those.
Okay.
You might want to write down the question.
Yeah, we got it right.
Oh, good, fantastic. I would like to know if you want to use info sessions to boost your interest lists. You've done some surveys, but info sessions in person can be very beneficial. So think about that, and locations. You mentioned that Go Big Board will be involved in the school. And when I read that, I thought operations. So please explain how the board will be involved in the school and attend to its needs in a timely and professional manner, so we won't confuse that with operations. Also was mentioned that in your conflict of interest, that board members can participate in the discussions, if they recuse themselves, but not be able to vote. So typically you recuse from discussion and the vote. Okay. Let's see. Okay, several here. Also, you mentioned 3 auditors. One of those, I was told, has retired, so you might want to take a look at the one from Zebulon and replace that with another option.
Thank you.
I'll let others speak now.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
You always have a very thorough application. You did last time, and you did again this time as well. And there are strengths there, and I have some smaller concerns, but I thought I would express the things that would be most concerning so that you can address those. And one would actually be the exceedingly persuasive justification to exclude boys from this education. So if you understand, according to the general statute, single-gender schools can be approved, but there needs to be exceedingly persuasive, needs very compelling data and evidence that this is a goal we desire, and this would be the only way to attain it would be to exclude males. I didn't see that data in the application. The data that you submitted gives CMS data, but not broken down by gender, so we do see that by race or ethnicity there are variances, but there's nothing to tell us by gender that girls aren't performing better or worse than the boys. And the data in the app refers to girls that graduate, and I brought this out last time. You bring up data from girl graduates from girls' schools, but this is a K-5 school, and so I don't know that the data really transfers that the K-5 students, now they're going to be more likely to choose a STEM career, which was your premise. So those things are concerning. Also, someone else mentioned professional development, and I have a list of everything the teachers are going to be using in curriculum and instruction, and it just seems overwhelming. And your professional development, those 15 days is a lot, but it doesn't cover a lot of this. You have a lot of equity training in those first 15 days, but not a lot of the curriculum and instruction training in those 15 days, and it may occur during the year. 2 other things, and then I'll stop. The parent and community support, I didn't see that. I didn't even see a strong interest, much less a demand. The survey that you submitted had 59, and when it came to the form to, express interest, like they would actually give you a name or an email, 51 of those skipped it and only 8 submitted it. So that's very concerning there. And then finally, the budget doesn't appear to support your mission. I don't see raises for teachers or staff for the whole 5-year period. There are no raises. But the classroom hardware, the Promethean boards, the technology and education teacher that you need, that your ed plan says you'll have, the North Carolina STEM ed leader that the NC rubric says you'll have, none of these are funded. And so I don't see the mission supported in the budget.
I'm going to ask the same question of all 3 schools that present to us today. Educator, recruitment, and retention. Please describe how you will compete with the incredible number of charter, private, and district schools for high-quality staff.
And do you have other questions?
No.
And my questions actually go along the same lines as far as recruiting of teachers, because I see you have a very long extended day that goes from 7:15 to 4:50. So again, attracting teachers and getting them to work at your charter school versus the charter schools and traditional schools that you're close to. Also, again, looking at the budget, and I agree, you talked about having one-to-one devices. I don't see that stuff budget in there. And the one thing that really kind of struck me as odd is when you start a budget, it typically, again, when schools first start out, it is usually very tight. But looking at your budget, I saw in year 5 there was actually an influx of other income of almost $200,000. And I'm not sure if you could expand on what that is, because if you don't receive that $200,000, then you're in a deficit in year 5. And usually by the time you get to your 5th year, typically schools are established and stronger. So that does give me a cause for pause when I see that influx of money needed in year 5.
Eric, were you going to say something now?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I think maybe increasing your marketing budget too. Only 7,000. It won't go very far, very long. So take a look at that. And also your salaries, you have EC/EL budgeted for 12 months, the directors, 45,000 to 60,000. And I think they would be best separated because they play different roles. EC/EL. Departments, directors, and make sure it's firm on how many times you will meet per year. In one place it says 10 meetings, then your bylaws say 12. So please clarify that. And that's me for now. Thank you.
Sounds like we've got a lot of questions for you, which is part of the process here. So why don't we start with the questions heard seems to have lay out here this morning initially. Maybe the starting point, let's start with, could you give us just a quick summary of how did you change your application this go around for this cycle compared to last year? What were some of the things that you really honed in on or looked to change from the last time that we were together?
Thank you so much for your questions. So to start off, last year when we presented our application, we had a boarding component that was part of our application because we wanted to provide that opportunity and experience for students, for young ladies, particularly due to our research, due to the experiences of our board members and other people that we've spoken with and the impact of that type of experience. However, after we discussed and we interviewed with the board on 2 rounds, it was determined that, there was unsurety about the state budget being able to support a boarding component. And so what we've done this year is we've presented a day school that achieves many of the same tenets, many of the same goals as the boarding school would have. And so that's what we're looking to just put forth our day school. It is an extended day for the purposes of the student community that the school will reside in, and some of the lack of socioeconomic availability in that area, and hoping that the school can be a resource for families.
And we've also, I apologize, this is Crystal. We've also added the Project Lead the Way component to increase the robustness of the STEM program.
And then finally, to your point, we actually increased it from a K-5 to a K-8 application, so that we can include that continuum and have students well prepared for these STEM programs that do exist in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area.
And with that, I would also like to address the original numbers. I believe they were perhaps mistakenly written, but years 1 through 5, we are going to be serving K through 5, and then once we hit, 6, K through 6, and then, but that's where that influx comes from in that year 5, because we bring in that middle school component.
So this says at capacity K through 6, but you're saying it will be K through 8?
Yeah.
Yes.
And just, that's in the application. I think it was just a transfer, a mistake in the transfer of information.
Didn't you also change your support organization? It's not really a CMO, but you had some assistance from one and then another.
So we actually were already in partnership with CSP last year. We wrote the application independently last year, but we were planning to work with them and partner with them. We've extended the term of our partnership with them, and we've also brought them in this year to help us refine the application to ensure that we felt confident that it was something we were all on board with and reflected the feedback that we received last year.
At
So
any point, did you use American Charter Development?
they are our design build firm.
Okay.
Yes.
And they still are?
Yes. Can I go back to year 5 with the other funds? You have budgeted the students in grade 6, so there's 100 extra students in grade 6, and so that does flow through to your revenues. But there's another line that says other funds, $197,649. So you've already accounted for your additional influx of students for grade 6, but I wasn't sure what the $197,649 was.
Mm-hmm.
Apologies, we're just pulling up the budget on our end.
And if you want to answer some of the other questions while she's on.
Oh, certainly.
It's under the operation budget.
It's on. So at present, we are working with ACD, and we do have an LOC with that organization. We have identified property that is near off Tyvola near the South Tryon intersection that will be purchased upon approval of the charter, and then construction will begin at that point. Design and development and such will begin at that point. If the facility is not completed by opening, we will then have modular units put on that property, since we own that property, to begin school. And if, for whatever reason, we're unable to do that, we have an agreement with Greater Bethel AME Church that has an educational facility that will allow us to utilize their facilities for our first year.
So you're going to purchase the land and the building eventually, or is it going to be?
No, it's a design build process. So all of it will be together. So our contractors, ACD, will purchase the land and begin construction.
And then you're going to lease it back?
Yes.
Just to clarify, we want to make sure we address the correct line. What line and item were you referencing with regard to the?
Yeah, it's in this. She has it pulled up on the screen.
Year 5.
And it's year 5, the 197,649.
Okay, thank you.
Can you discuss a little bit about the question that was raised about teacher recruitment, specifically in an area that there's already a lot of choice options for teachers and parents?
Certainly. So you said recruitment of our student population or our staff?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's, yeah, there's questions you heard about recruitment of students in an area where there's already a lot of choice, and I'm not so sure we saw overwhelming demand, at least in the data that we submitted. But then there's also the issue of teachers as well, because teachers obviously have lots of choices where they want to, practice their trade as well. So I talked a little bit about both of those and your plans for that.
Absolutely. So as it relates to student recruitment, we are very much involved in the community, attending local events, local festivals, going door to door, speaking with different organizations in the area such as daycares, after school programs, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club. We have been to several of these locations where we've set up tables. We've gotten lists of signatures of people that are interested. In the Charlotte area, a lot of people are reluctant to give out information via the web, especially if the charter is not technically approved yet, in terms of saying, I'm going to enroll my student in this particular thing. So we have seen some reluctance just out of conversation, not because they're not interested or that they don't want to, but sometimes the populations are just less inclined because it is not a economically advanced community. The West Charlotte area, they are low income community and sometimes don't have access to some of those things in that way.
But I do really love the suggestion that you made, and that's our goal, is to do more in-person events and more in-person communication, because when we have been able to do that prior to COVID, that was when we were able to generate the 300 plus signatures. People were very excited. It is very much a community where that face-to-face matters, and so with the changes, hopefully, and the modifications we've made to how we communicate in person, whether it be with masks and social distancing, we do plan to re-engage the community in that way because we did see success initially.
Absolutely. And so, like we've said, we've had some definite success in our face-to-face, our on-the-ground models versus the virtual models, and that's really due to the community that is there. In that present community, there are schools that have STEM programs. However, a lot of those STEM programs are optional. They're usually part of the CTE program, and students can choose or not choose those particular programs as a former educator in CMS. And so the option sometimes is not actually presented to all students. And so when it is, there is a greater chance that students are involved, parents are involved. When parents have been approached about the opportunities, they've been very excited about it and wanted to know why they hadn't heard about it before. So there is definitely interest. There is interest both in female students as well as underrepresented populations to gain these types of skills.
How will we prepare teachers for the professional models that Early will use?
Certainly. So as part of the professional development for the curriculum specifically, so I'll start with Project Lead the Way, as I am a master teacher for Project Lead the Way and worked with Project Lead the Way for over 10 years. That training is done outside of the school year. So usually that is a summer training or it is a winter training where the teachers go and they have an immersive environment where they actually take the course. And so they are very intimately aware of what the course requires and how to deliver that course to students. The Amplify curriculums also provide professional development for their curriculums as well as Eureka Math. So in terms of the instructional program, those professional developments will come from the curriculum providers.
Also, we noticed and appreciate and agree with the feedback that we received in the application from the reviewers, which is to ensure that our focus is on hiring a STEM expert as the school leader, because it is important, just as we receive feedback about the MTSS leader, that these leaders that we designate be skilled in the areas that align with our mission, so that we can ensure that that is a priority, that they have the skills to be able to carry the mission and the vision. And so that is a priority for our board, is to ensure that we have a STEM expert as our school leader. I just wanted to address that.
And as we, this is Erin Howe, and as we continue to look at bringing on new staff, of course that comes at a cost. And so with $45,000 for teacher salaries right now, no, that does not seem competitive enough for the rigor of this academic program, extended calendar and extended day. These are absolute valid concerns. However, we have achieved this average salary rate at some of other schools in which we are involved, yeah. And so also with the updated per pupil funding this year, we do plan to increase teacher salaries utilizing additional funds if possible.
And as the per pupil funding increases, we will proportionately increase teacher salaries as well, so that we are continuously competitive.
Yes, and just one more thing. So based on the budget as it is written, it doesn't allot for an increase in the per pupil funding over the years, and so we kept our numbers steady to reflect that. But in actuality, we know historically per pupil allotments have increased, and so our goal and our priority as a board is to be competitive in salaries, and so we will, in accordance with that, increase teacher salaries. We will also find creative ways. Being a teacher, this is my almost 20-something years. I started when I was 2, teaching, and one thing that has mattered for me is even when I was in schools that were extended day, teaching from 7 a.m. until one school I was there till 5:10, was the professional development opportunities, were the opportunities for growth, were the other incentives that we got in terms of gifts and awards and recognition. All of those things matter, and research shows that those matter to teachers as much as the salary. And so while we are working to increase our salaries, we are also brainstorming as a board ways that we can show our teachers that they are valued and that the work that they do is meaningful.
And also to interject, as far as it goes for that 200,000 in year 5. It was a very conservative estimate on when we receive approval for that national school lunch program. And then, but yeah, I just want to answer it. Thank you.
While you're talking about the budget, knowing all of these things going into the application, why were not raises budgeted for your teachers and staff and your admin? For a 5-year period, what was the thinking there?
So the thinking is that we do plan to raise salaries, just using the budgetary chart. So for example, if we know our per pupil allotment based on the template that we're provided is fixed, we're using that fixed amount to say that this is the average salary. If these funds remained fixed, we can't take money from where we don't receive extra, but we understand that we will have an increase, and so we do anticipate raising student salary.
But you point out that during that 5-year period, enrollment goes from 300 to 700.
Yes.
And everyone's at the same compensation as they were when they're supervising 300.
That is a valid point. So we do appreciate that feedback, and I think that is a point that we need to go back and reflect that in the budget as well to show what we are thinking as a board, which is that we do want salaries to increase and we want to be, in fact, the most competitive out there. And so that is a valid point.
Right, because again, extended day, extended year, more than double the student body, and the teachers are reflected in the budget at the same pace. Likewise, your application talks about Promethean boards in your instruction. It's one-to-one devices, maker spaces, 3D printers, things that just, they're not budgeted. If they are, it's not evident. They may be tucked away in something, but it's not evident that you budgeted your STEM focus.
We have the budget, we have allotments for those items in our budget, in our operations, budget.
I think what we're hearing, and just to make sure I'm clear, is to make sure that those items are more prominent and visible so that the alignment is clear between our budget and our mission. Okay, perfect.
And we can, because we have sat down and
Ashley, how are we doing on time right now? I think we had 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah, we're done on time.
We're over on time?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and then have the applicant give their closing statement, and then we can have our discussion time.
So if you could go ahead and give your applicant closing, you have 10 minutes to give your closing, and then we'll deliberate after that.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us about our charter application. I wanted to take a quick moment to just address a couple of things. Number one, we are committed 100% to doing whatever is necessary to serve our students, our staff, and our community. And we want to make sure that it is an experience like none other, not just for our female scholars, but for our staff as well. Because we understand that when the morale of the staff is good, it reflects positively on our student population. And so as former educators, we understand the value of making sure that teachers are felt, that they feel valued and that their worth is recognized. So we will make sure to accommodate that. We also make sure to provide professional development for teachers, not just at the beginning of the school year, but throughout the school year as well, providing opportunities both in the school and outside of the school through local organizations and professional development organizations. And we also will be using the responsive classroom approach to promote student equity, to promote positive classrooms, to promote peaceful classrooms, to make sure that school culture is that will create academic success for students. We believe that single gender schools are important, and we believe that there is a need, a very heavy need within the Charlotte community that allows female students the opportunity to excel in STEM the way that young males have had the opportunity in some of the more traditional schools. We want to make sure that every opportunity is provided for each student, EC, EL, students with disability, and as such, we do have a separate director for EC and a separate director for EL beginning in year one, and that is reflected in our budget. In terms of marketing, we do have a line item of $7,000. However, we have, through CSP, our partner, they have a marketing budget for us that provides transit on the CAT system, post signage on the links rail system, signage on that, yard signs. It is a very comprehensive marketing package that comes along with the partnership with CSP. And then we also have an additional marketing budget to make sure that we can reach the community and reach all of our potential families. At this time, I'm going to allow our Vice Chair, Crystal Howe, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do want to just take a moment to speak to the disparity even when the data is disaggregated, because I thought your point was also valid. There is a disparity, and unfortunately research shows that, for example, while progress has been made in leveling out the interest in STEM between boys and girls, there are populations within those groups that are being overlooked. For example, females of color, the proportion, the rates are not the same. They're a lot lower, and CMS data reflects that if you disaggregate it, the data for females and the data for females of color, which are part of the population that we serve, it's drastically lower. And so we want to make sure that we recognize that there is disparity there is an injustice, and that is our goal in the single sex program, single gender program, is to address those students, those females that have been overlooked. That being said, I want to reiterate that there is a mounting national concern, as we all know, regarding the paucity of skilled STEM professionals in the U.S. This dearth of gifted STEM professionals has been exacerbated by, as I mentioned, the disparate underrepresentation of females and minorities in STEM. Females and minorities continue to inequitably fuel the STEM pipeline. They face pervasive stereotypes of male dominance in STEM, between group achievement gaps, as I discussed, and ability biases, and this is research by Bowe and Koperg and Turk, as well as Hemelt and Leonard, and some more. Nationwide efforts to expand the number of individuals that enter science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, as well as medical professions, have persisted. Researchers have found that engaging scholars in STEM is a critical stepping stone in ensuring our nation's financial and environmental success. Growing the STEM pipeline is especially vital for economically and educationally disadvantaged communities, such as our target area of West Charlotte. Careers that rely on mathematical or scientific training are steadily increasing, and earning potential continues to be greater for those in STEM-related fields than those in non-STEM-related fields. However, to bridge the STEM gap fully and effectively, there's a need for more women and minorities to enter STEM professions, particularly those fields in which women are gravely underrepresented, such as technology and engineering. Research has shown that there's a direct connection between all-girls STEM environments and STEM success for girls. In a study of single-sex urban math classrooms, for example, where teachers equitably and intentionally espoused math identities for girls, girls demonstrated, and this is a middle school study, girls demonstrated significant mathematics achievement and engagement while maintaining a positive academic self-concept. Data from the National Coalition of Girls' Schools reveals that graduates of girls' schools, and again, the Coalition of Girls' Schools is a consortium of schools, girls' schools across the range of levels, and so this data is all-encompassing, not solely for college graduates. They're more likely to consider majoring in math, science, technology, and 3 times more likely to consider majoring in engineering compared to girls that attend co-ed schools. So, finally, with the knowledge of the gap and the vision before us, how do we move forward? In the words of Sarah Bonbranek, the world needs dreamers and the world needs doers. But above all, the world needs dreamers who do. As a board, we understand that to address this national concern and to fulfill our promises to our future students, families, educators, staff members, and members of the community we will serve, we will need more than just a dream. We will need a viable plan of action. Therefore, throughout the Ready to Open process and moving forward into the operation of the school, our board will use its combined wealth of experience and expertise to engage with diverse school and community stakeholders in a rigorous and recursive cycle of reviewing, reevaluating, refining, and redeveloping policies to support all aspects of our school's educational and operational programs. We will continue to collaborate with all stakeholders to conceive as well as ensure the ongoing existence of a fiscally, operationally, and instructionally high-quality charter school. CSAB members, thank you again. We understand that exploring the possibility of opening North Carolina's first charter STEM school for girls is a watershed moment. We hope that you, our community members who are listening in, our future students and families, find the following words from Vice President Kamala Harris fitting for this occasion. To the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourself in a way that others might not see you, simply because they have never seen it before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So now we're going into the phase where at CSAB we'll deliberate for up to 15 minutes. If we want you to answer any further questions, we will, but this is really our time to deliberate. And again, just to remind my colleagues, we have 3 choices. We can either move them forward with approval to the State Board of Ed, we can recommend a second round interview with us, or we can move forward a recommendation just to deny the application to the State Board of Ed at this time. So with that, I'll kind of withhold my comments for right now. Those that are there in Raleigh in person, thoughts, comments that you have to share about this applicant, please.
Anybody want to start? I feel like, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
I feel like there's still a lot of unanswered questions, things to maybe expand on more. I mean, my biggest concerns really are demand from, having the student enrollment. Also attracting as teachers. I mean, if your rates are the same as the local LEAs and the other charters in the area, but your days are going to be longer and your calendar is going to be longer, and there's a lot more professional development that needs to be done, a lot more training, and that causes concern. I also feel like the budget needs a lot more work. And that's, one of the biggest reasons charter schools fail is they're not financially strong. And starting out not strong gives me pause for concern.
I'll say again, I'll briefly address what I was saying about the exceedingly persuasive argument for a single-gender school where you're excluding the male students, and your data is comparing, rather than comparing the underserved females to underserved males. That's the data I want to see that I haven't seen. Are females lower performing than the males in that social group, socioeconomic group? So that's the data that hasn't been brought forward. And I would say, I know your passion and your ideas and creativity, and this was very evident last time, but it's very concerning to me the lack of data that you brought to evidence support, interest and support in this effort. It needs to be there from the community and the parents, and it was woefully lacking. And then the budget, again, I'll have to just say, it's more than you just being specific. I mean, the STEM focuses everything about your mission, and it should have been evident looking at the budget. And that teacher recruitment and retainment, that should have been evident in how you compensate and the planning that went into that. So I would just say that those are the two probably greater concerns would be, and we didn't go into details, but overarching the budget and the support that will be necessary for the school to be successful.
Thank you so much for the information.
But without being redundant, I would like to see them come back if we go in that direction.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
25 minutes is not very much time to answer a lot, and I think there were still some questions that we had asked that you guys just didn't have time to answer.
So, may I ask a question? Based on the things that you all are talking about, is this an applicant that is a second interview, or are we talking about material changes to the application?
Right.
That's a good
I
question.
pose that, what is your threshold of what what the concerns are, what you're looking for? Is it going to generate a material change for them to satisfy those questions?
I'll speak up. I don't think from my perspective, I agree. I don't think that 25, there's a lot of questions here, but I think we have a lot of questions because it's an interesting concept and it's an interesting proposal, at least in my mind. I don't know that these would be material changes. There might be some changes to how things are allocated in the budget. We didn't really get too much into the teacher professional development and the curriculum itself. I would tend to concur that I'd like to have them come back for a second interview. I would not be ready to move them forward with approval to the state board at this stage. I think they've got we at CSAB have we're in a situation here. We're not only talking about a very unique charter that's just for girls, and they spend a lot of time in giving us evidence why they feel that that's important, but we also have to have the comfort level that they can pull this off with their application. And so I'd be inclined to bring them back for a second interview, reminding everybody on the call that the second interview requires us to put together our list of questions, of which they will respond to in writing back to us before we actually do the second interview. I don't want to be presumptuous. If we go with the second interview, I would just say to this particular applicant, they need to be very focused on answering the questions we ask them in a very succinct way. I'm willing to make a motion now, but I'll leave it open for other discussion. We still have a few minutes left to discuss amongst us.
Are you making the motion, Bruce?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion that we bring Go Big back for his second interview.
Any other parlay seconds?
So let's discuss that, because we've had that conversation before about changes to the application. And if we want to, some of the things that need to be evident, I don't know that at this point they could be changed. If you recall last month, opinions about that?
I think if we we assess the answers that we get in writing, and if they depart significantly from the original application, then that gives us our answer about whether they would necessitate a material change to the application. So, you know, there's a lot riding on the answers to those questions, I think.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Please.
So we have a first and we have a second on the motion to bring them back for a second interview. Is there additional discussion or questions?
No.
No,
I
we're
think
shaking
we've
our head.
expressed, you know,
Okay.
we've expressed what our questions are.
Okay. Okay, well, hearing none, Ashley, do you want to do a roll call vote?
Yes. Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Terry Stoops,
Aye.
Lynn Kroger,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Approves.
John Eldridge,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez.
Aye.
All right, so they will, Go Big, you will come back for a second interview. Ms. Rockley will be in touch with you about that. And also I wanted to make it clear that since you were here last year, the process has changed a little bit. So you will get information from our office about the specific questions that you need to focus on and the deadlines for returning that information to our office. And then that will be provided to the CSAF prior to your second round interview. Okay?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, lunch is here, so what would you like to do? Think we should do like a 30-minute lunch?
I think that makes sense to try to.
Try to catch back up.
Okay, so let's be back at 1:45. Does that work?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That put us close to back on track.
It's about 30, have us 30 minutes out.
And lunch should be in there if you want to grab it. All right.